Hi, my family. This is Yahweh, the original narcissistic predator, part 2. This is my Sunday sermon. And once you begin to purge these entities and spiritual concepts of what you're supposed to be out of your subconscious, even a little bit, it's a challenge, but it can be done. And, we've had this Illuminati media pumping it into us our whole lives as long as we watch it. So that's why I talk shit to my friends when they still do that, if it's something of a negative or a loose fest source. Um, Approaching the end of narcissistic entity possession, you'll feel bad. When you manipulate others, you'll start realizing it's idiotic. I can't tell this character I was talking about in the Pollyanna thing, or not him, or any of those guys. I can't tell them it's idiotic, but eventually you start realizing it's idiotic to manipulate others, and you start to notice these critters coming around your aura when you do, and you recognize the psychological components of reality or healing and clarity. I've allowed myself to sink into codependency, and if, like I said before, if my 3D and financial reality was as clear as my concepts, I would already be. You'd have probably heard of me before, but I'm still having to. Part of it, obviously, is letting go of rebelling against anything. I'm not rebelling against anything, but also redefining what work is and taking the slavery mind state out of it on a personal level for myself. And this channel is actually a part of that. And I'm really thankful for the YouTube community and my subscribers and lovers, and family and friends for helping me in that way to set an example, besides just telling you truth or rocking out. Um, but my whole life I've been targeted, gaslit. They try to give me a fake ID, to belittle me and so that I would go into denial, to derail my spiritual mission. And something I didn't really go into in my video about solipsism and survival and narcissism is how the so-called cost of living. People just they they get preoccupied with survival out here in California, and they just forget, and it's tragic. But I'm just not that kind of person. Like I say, I would be more likely to suffer from the archontic narcissistic spiritual possession, the Yahweh spiritual possession of verbally abusing people when I was running late. I mean, that was about the worst I would do. But for an appointment, and again, the appointment concept is, I say, if you could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes late for anything, there'd be how much percentage less accidents? Give me a comment. Okay, so you recognize these tendencies of the predator that you don't want in your character. Not just because it's the ascension, but just like if it were any time, you truly want to be one with the Almighty, sacred Christos, the original creator. You don't have this jealous, angry father, patriarch, abusive, manipulative, power mad, greedy, control freak God is not the one, literally. So once you start to notice it's not the one, you take a step back from your attitude of the male dominance internally, whatever your gender. You see, all of my friends who have these narcissistic entities will sometimes actually openly refuse to watch my videos, or they won't respond to me. They'll change the subject, but they'll never speak negatively about it. But I could see the parasitical entities, because if they were making channels, I'd want to watch it. And so maybe they don't want to get addicted to YouTube or something, or they don't want to get pulled in. They don't want to binge watch and learn a lot of wisdom, or they're afraid of the negative aliens and the truth about all this stuff. But again, the old cliche, "the truth shall set you free," is certainly true in this case. I mean, in many ways, it's terrifying at first. I've always thought there was a store in Calistoga called David Copperfield, and they have the ancient Buddhist pictures, and they have Mahakala, or some of these. It's like the angry, ferocious gods that throw in fireballs, and I always thought, that's how you feel when you first become enlightened. You're ferociously angry. So eventually, dealing with all the issues of codependency, um, and recognition of equanimity is a real huge. Like I say, we don't even here in the USA, we're so ignorant about this because we've been raised by these reptilians through the media. So we don't even have a clue what equanimity is unless we've been exposed to, like if we went down to Mexico or South America or Africa or China or Japan or some other island, and we could see people that treated each other with equal respect, we might know what it was. So yeah, this goes into the four immeasurables. I propose the four immeasurables are a great tool to battle this demon within our own subconscious mind and with the exterior as well. It's coming from Buddhist teaching. So joy. Number one I mentioned was equanimity. It's really hard for some of us whiteys, so we're going to learn this the hard way, but hopefully the fun way, to have respect for all. Joy, inherent joy in life, and the narcissistic force always attempts to control the joy, pervert it, belittle it, put it in their version. Okay. An example of this is when I lived at this dude's house that I was telling you about in the instant mortification video. When I was living at this house, before I lived there, was this other man from Vermont. A young man who was really good looking and really high IQ. And he grew this cannabis, and he was very pure at heart. And he grew this cannabis that was really, really good. And this really keys into this narcissist concept, okay? Because this comes into my memory as a key example of when I noticed this demon in this character. So what it's like is so what happened is, he only had another 2 ounces or whatever, or less than that, or an ounce of this dude's weed that he had grown the year before with this guy. But it was such high quality weed. Cannabis is very psychedelic, mild psychedelic, and mediumistic. Take on the energy of the people and objects around it, and it just had a great high, very, very good energy. It was really, really good, really clean energy, like this man had. So, and I think he inherently saw what a narcissistic predator this guy was psychologically, and that's why he left after only growing with him there a year and went back. But I think he went back to the state he's from, so seeing what it was like out here. So anyway, so what he did was, um, I don't know what happened, but I wanted to purchase an eighth or get him to give me some to buy some of this guy's weed off him because it was so good. But the addict, I think I was 32 years old or whatever. The addict in me was so strong, when I still hadn't, I wasn't aware of how powerful that addiction is, a demon itself, that but the powerful narcissistic entity, and he does have some Jewish blood. The entity in him was so powerful, man, and he was about 29 or whatever. So he was smiling, getting great delight out of kind of promising me he was going to give me this really good weed, and then not, and just being totally unwilling to give it to me, and then seeing my reaction and feeding actually off the negative energy of my reaction when he wouldn't, and I kind of got upset because I was so mentally and psychologically addicted to it. One of my friends said ganja is the most mentally addictive thing because it's not physically addictive. But anyway, so I don't know. So they'll always make false promises. Something I've seen other psychologists talk about. False promises for future painting, or this one guy with a kind of a narcissistic demon. He always tells me the great dreams, but they never have that we're going to have our great future and plans and stuff. But again, I guess because he, again, takes the financier's version of reality is really what it is, because he's a good man. But that's part of the narcissistic demon too, is believing the financier's version of reality is the one. So the narcissist's power over you is their inverted powerlessness. As long as you believe these creatures and these demons, these inverted concepts, these masters of psychological warfare, masters of mind control who have no self-respect are you, then you're going to have a horrible, suffering life, until you stop doing that. And that's part of the healing of narcissistic force, is letting go of Yahweh and the dark side of it and just, nope. Because their powerlessness will cause them to do gaslighting, projection, trying or having to be your supply of whatever it is. Incompetence creates competitiveness, acquisition. So in other words, people become narcissists because they're losers, because they're incompetent, they're insecure, they have no faith in themselves, they really have no faith. This Old Testament idea of and New Testament of a fear-based God, the God in the sky that you got to be terrified of, is going to punish you when you die. Well, that's accurate as long as you obey this demiurge, is what it is, I think, So after a while, these people, as soon as I began healing with this guy, he's not really ever friendly to me. They're only as soon as I kind of stonewall or stop feeding him energetically. But yeah, at first, like when I used to get really angry at him and stuff, or even a couple years ago when either of us would get upset with each other, I could feel that energy. So now I pray for him and I'll talk to him, but he doesn't want to talk to me very long, hardly at all, and because I won't feed him supply or loosh. So this is how it's done. So fighting and drama that's just what their demons want. If you can't give them money or energy or supply, so simply noticing the suffering this causes, the suffering these narcissistic entities cause yourself and others and everyone else, that really helps you to have compassion to help do what I'm doing now and start to work to diffuse this original internal this original hijacking of parts of our body, okay, our mind. Have compassion. Disidentification with these entities really has a lot to do with removing the hubris in your subconscious mind. You know what I'm saying? You can't look. I don't claim to be fully healed. I haven't fully done my shadow work. I'm gonna probably have to take days off from doing this to do it, because sticking my face up in the microwaves it was probably just simply the atmospheric river really compromised me enough to where it's just a matter of balance. I have to learn balance. I only started my channel recently here, the last couple months. So for me, it's actually my feedback. I'm getting my few comments here is helping me to sculpt myself into the real me rather than be the rough version, that they want us to. So you disidentify with your hubris. It's very important. Testing friendliness with no conditions. Okay, so this time, what you do is try being friendly with somebody who's not a sexy girl, who's not somebody you want to manipulate or get the money from, who's not somebody who you want to make a deal with. That'll help you to heal that. Work a temporary job or hourly wage gig, under the table gig, so that you can get used to buckling up and working for somebody else and not living through your nasty, massive ego. Then those entities kind of get kicked back in, or it kicks them out a little bit. Speaking openly and clear about how you feel about things. Eventually you come to a point of neutrality with all of this. Learning to be neutral about the second bardo and the deceiver. It doesn't mean you're not going to expose them, because for me, like I say, part of my truth is my job is to teach and expose both the dark and the light, the consciousness, the conscious awareness. It's all about awareness. Being a friend and a healer to everyone, and transparency is the key in the end, you'll learn. Now, God bless you, and thank you for listening and watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed this, and have a wonderful, joyous, peaceful, harmless Sunday afternoon.